Hello everyone, DM Gashbad here, and it's been a while, but we are back with our Warhammer Fantasy 8th Edition Path to Glory campaign. I know when we started we were planning on having these campaign days once every 2 months. This was more like 4 months, what can you do? But we're back with a new set of 3 games with the 3 other members of the gaming group, and a new scenario. This one is called Defend the Stones. We'll get to that in a minute, but first let's look at the warbands. This is my warband right here, the Louts of Chaos, led by Sir Osis of the Liver, failed knight, successful drunk. He's got chaos armor, a shield, a throwing axe, and a barded chaos steed. As far as his advancements go, I think he's doing okay, but I'm getting the sense that he's kind of falling behind the other champions in the campaign. His first advancement was Blessing of Khorne, which allows him to dispel 1 spell per game. At first I thought this has got to be one of the worst advancements that you can get, but now with another warband member getting a Chaos Sorcerer, and given how dangerous these spells are turning out to be, this is actually looking better and better. He also gained +1 weapon skill, and he has the Axe of Khorne now, which gives him Killing Blow. He's also suffered 2 injuries. One reduces his movement, which doesn't matter at all because he is mounted on Horsey there. He also gained a Bitter Enemy, which means that he hates Kaeroph the First Born, which happens to be the leader of the warband I'm about to fight in this game. As for the rest of the warband from left to right, we have a single Chaos Hound called the Booze Hound. We have 2 Chaos Warriors with shields, the Pitmen. We have Herald Drownsodden, my chosen, with an additional hand weapon. Scalding Blood Porridge is my Ogre, also with an additional hand weapon. We have the Leg Biters, which are 6 Marauders with additional hand weapons. And finally, we have the new addition this round, Dunschlitz the Minotaur with his great weapon. On the other side of the table, we have the Hagsbrood, an undivided Chaos warband. Kaeroph the First Born is the guy in the lower right. He's the only champion in the campaign on foot. He is armed with a great weapon and a shield. I don't exactly remember what all his advancements are, but I know he has gotten pretty choppy. I believe he has +1 toughness, +1 attack, and some other things that make him a much more reliable meat grinder than my own champion. With him are 2 Chaos Ogres with great weapons. That's going to be the primary source of concern for me, but he also has a Chaos Troll. As if that weren't enough, he also has 3 Chaos Warriors without any additional equipment, 4 Chaos Hounds, 5 Chaos Marauders with flails, and 2 Marauder Horsemen also with flails. Let's go over now and take a look at the board all set up with the terrain and both warbands deployed and talk about the scenario. Briefly put, this scenario has some problems. The general idea is that you have 1 attacker and 1 defender. The defender is setting up in a circle of stones, doing some ritual, or in my case, probably just opening a keg and passing the drinking horns around. The point is, they've got a 12-inch diameter circle in the center of the table that they have to defend. The problems start to arrive in that the defender, by the way, that's me. We rolled randomly at the beginning of the game and I got the low roll. The defender has to set up first in the center of the table, and I don't know which side my opponent is going to deploy on. He doesn't deploy randomly, he gets to choose. And he gets to set up within 6 inches of any of those table edges, which means that he not only gets to choose from which side he attacks you, but he also starts pretty close. Thankfully, while my opponent has some fast elements, he doesn't have a champion mounted on a Chaos Steed, which could really make a first round charge that could destroy a bunch of my army. The final problem with this scenario is that after all that, the attacker then gets the first turn. So they really have the opportunity of finding the weakest point of your deployment and then immediately get an opportunity to ruthlessly exploit it. So there's a lot of head scratching before the game trying to figure out how to set up the defender's forces that wouldn't immediately lose them the game. I think most of us settled on the idea that we're going to put our champion, our most valuable character, in the center. No one's going to go out towards the edges because that's just inviting a first round charge. The rocks that make up the little circle that we're deployed in, we're going to treat those as impassable terrain, which adds its own bit of challenges for both the attacker and the defender to move around and get at the opposing forces. I did consider the idea of just having all of my guys inside the circle facing towards the center, so their backs to the enemy lines. The idea being that if they were charged, they would just flee. I would hope I would pass my panic tests, and then hopefully some of my guys would be able to see whoever just charged after them. In the end, though I thought it looked kind of weird and funny, I didn't go for it. I just tried a pretty traditional, everyone facing outward sort of setup. They're a little small in this picture, but the Leg Biters are facing off to the left. Dunschlitz the Minotaur is facing at an angle, but mostly down to the bottom. The Pitmen and Scalding Blood Porridge are off to the right. The Hound and the Chosen are facing off to the left and right respectively. For some reason, I didn't actually cover them looking towards the top, which of course is where my opponent decided to set up, because he is under no threat from a turn 1 charge. I'm not sure why I did that, but I think it actually turned out okay. With just those 2 models on that top side, there's more space between me and my opponent, so it'll give me a little bit of an opportunity to readjust my lines. It doesn't look like he's going for a round 1 charge. From left to right, he's got the Horsemen, the Hounds, the Marauders. He's got both Ogres in 1 unit with his champion in there, so that's going to be a real problem. And then the Chaos Warriors and the Troll. So as I said, the attacker gets the first turn, so the Hagsbrood move out. Everyone advances pretty much their full distance except for the Marauder Horsemen, who hang back a little bit. No turn 1 charges, but he is up nice and close, probably looking at getting in a bunch of charges while my guys are still trying to unscramble themselves. So over to the Louts of Chaos turn, and I do see a little bit of an opportunity. His Troll has flanked out kind of far on the right-hand side, so he is within the charge arc and charge range of Scalding Blood Porridge my Ogre. I've been in this situation in previous rounds, and Ogre versus Troll doesn't really work out real well for the Ogre. But the Troll is just back from the crest of the hill, which means if I make that charge, I'll get a +1 for charging and a +1 for charging down a hill. So there's a bit of an opportunity there. I hem and haw about it a little bit, and then I decided to make the charge, and sure enough, Scalding Blood Porridge makes the roll and gets in there. It's a risky move, but I really like the idea of seizing some of the initiative here. As for the rest of my moves, it's pretty straightforward. They all just swing out to face my opponent, except for Dunschlitz the Minotaur. My opponent's strength is definitely stacked over on the right. The left seems kind of weak. So I take the opportunity, and Dunschlitz marches right up in front of everybody. His front arc is still in front of the Horsemen and the Hounds and the Chaos Marauders, so they have to charge him in the front. And if they do a combo charge, the Hounds are going to have to be part of it. I do some rough math, and with his weapon skill 4, toughness 4, 3 wounds, and fear, I figure he should be fine and be able to dish out a lot of damage with his stomp and his great weapon afterwards. And again, I like the idea of throwing this curveball at my opponent that he now has to think his way out of. I also send the Boozehound out to do its typical Boozehound thing. It's just going to park itself right in front of the Ogres and the Champion. If they charge the Hound, I'm going to hold, and then they're either stuck there for a round or they can overrun straight into one of those rocks, and again, be stuck there for another round. So in the close combat phase, I managed to wound him with an impact hit, and then cause another 2 wounds in the close combat phase. Unfortunately, the Troll regenerates them all and takes no damage. Shockingly though, with the Troll's return attacks, it also causes no damage to the Ogre. This is great. The Troll is now at -2 on its break test. The Champion is nearby, so Leadership 8 goes to Leadership 6, and he makes it and sticks there. That's a little disappointing. My Ogre is definitely going to get flanked by those Chaos Warriors in the next round, but I knew it was a risk. I knew this could happen. Over to the Hagsbrood turn, and there are a bunch of charges. Sure enough, those Chaos Warriors go and slam into Scalding Blood Porridge's flank. The Ogres and the Champion go to take care of that nuisance of a Chaos Hound. The Hounds and the Marauder Horsemen both charge the Minotaur, which I am just fine with. I think he's going to be okay. The Marauders with flails don't really have a whole lot they can do except move up a bit in order to support. And with no magic or shooting, we go straight on to hand-to-hand combat. We're going to start with the Minotaur versus the Hounds and the Chaos Marauders, and I knew this could also be a problem because Dunschlitz is a freshly painted model that I haven't used before, and traditionally those are one of the worst performing things in Warhammer. Sure enough, with that great weapon, he always strikes last, and so I get a series of Strength 3 attacks. The Hounds even go and fail their Fear test, plus the Strength 5 from the flails, and beating the odds, they manage to knock 3 wounds onto the Minotaur. Straight off, there goes Dunschlitz, down for the count. Disappointing, if not surprising. The nearby Marauders with additional hand weapons manage to pass their panic test. They do get an overrun charge from the Marauder Horsemen. The Hounds stay where they are. I'm not too worried about this. I think those Marauder Horsemen are going to die on my turn, but then again, I thought they were going to die if they charged into that Minotaur, so shows what I know. To absolutely no one's surprise, the Hound dies, and the Ogres and the Champion are perfectly happy with where they're positioned, so they stay right there. And those 3 Chaos Warriors get into Scalding's flank and start throwing attacks. Now, if I had lined up Scalding a little differently, if I had touched him a little bit over to the right, I'd only get attacks from 2 of those Chaos Warriors. That would have helped because each of them has 2 attacks with weapon skill of 5. Somehow, either they failed their fear test or just through bad dice rolling, they only managed to get 1 wound into my Ogre, which is kind of surprising. Less surprising, perhaps, is that my Ogre fails to cause any damage whatsoever to the Chaos Warriors, including with his Stomp. And in further incompetence, the opponent's Troll still can't get through the thick hide of my Ogre. But as far as combat resolutions go, I am down a wound, a rank, and a charge. That's -3. My champion is nearby. Leadership 8 down to 5. He fails the dice roll. He takes off, and the Troll runs him down. The Chaos Warriors manage to restrain pursuit with a successful leadership test, and they reform to face my guys. Clearly this isn't ideal. I've lost 2 of my most powerful models in this round. Thankfully, however, that Troll is now way off to the right outside of the champion's leadership range, so it's unlikely he's going to pass his stupidity test and take any further part in the game. So in a way, the Ogre neutralized a threat, but not the way I would have preferred. Back to my turn, and I feel my guys starting to lose too many men. I know I'm supposed to be defending the stone circle and all, but at this point I just want to get some revenge. So the Pitmen and Sir Osis both declare a charge on these Chaos Warriors. My chosen Herald Drownsodden can see the flank of the Marauder Horsemen, so he charges in there. This combat has to go a little bit better than the last time I fought these Marauder Horsemen, because if at the end of any of my rounds I have none of my troops in the circle and the opponent has any of his, then I automatically lose. That's another problem with this scenario. There's an automatic win condition for the attacker, but not for the defender. It would have been nicer if they'd said something like, if you can keep the attackers out for 6 rounds or something like that, then you win. But nope, really all the benefits are on the attacker's side. So, over to the Chaos Warriors versus Pitmen and Sir Osis combat. Sir Osis and the Pitmen managed to kill off 2 of the Chaos Warriors, which is a little underwhelming, but considering what a bad round of games Sir Osis had last round, I'm happy he did in fact kill something in the first game this round. Even better, they don't take any wounds in return, and the final Chaos Warrior breaks. Sir Osis charges him down. He gets to have that blood for Khorne because he is the leader. The Pitmen are forced to stay where they are, pass their leadership test, and reform to face that unpleasant unit of the Ogres and the Champion. In the other combat, Herald Drownsodden does me proud and kills off one of the Marauder Horsemen. He's really been a bit of a hero for this campaign. In yet more incompetent dice, the Marauder Horseman fails to cause any wounds to the Legbiters who chop that last guy up to ribbons. That's another problem solved. I let my chosen go ahead and overrun out of the stone circle. He actually rolls a pretty large distance, like 10 inches or so. I would like to get him away from the Ogres and Kaeroph the First Born. I don't know what I'm going to do about that unit, but I don't want him to just pulverize my chosen on the next round. Pulverizing the Legbiters, though, that's okay. They reform to face that. The Hounds are less of a threat, plus I think they're blocked by that impassable rock. So you can see the tactical position that I've put myself in. In exchange for murdering a couple of my opponent's units, I have almost completely vacated that stone circle that I'm supposed to be defending. Just the Marauders are there, and they are almost certainly going to get destroyed by the Ogre charge next round. So what that means is that unless I can get Herald to march his way back into that circle, I'm going to lose. So was it worth risking losing the game in order to get a few violent deaths under my belt? Yes. Yes, it was. Hagsbrood turn, and to start things off, the Troll fails stupidity as expected and stumbles forward, bumping into the edge of the table there, right where the Chaos Gods stop mowing their lawn, apparently. The Marauders with flails charge the Pitmen, so that's going to be a bit of a dicey combat. And the Ogres and Kaeroph the First Born charge my Marauders, which is less dicey. The Chaos Hounds reposition in the remaining moves phase, and we go straight on to hand-to-hand combat. In something of a theme for this game, the Pitmen go and underperform and only kill off one of the Marauders with flails, but then my opponent goes and completely underperforms and misses the Pitmen entirely. This means for combat results it's a 1-1 draw, and so this will continue for the next round. The Legbiters are completely annihilated by my opponent's shock troops. They do manage to stick 1 wound on the Ogre on their way out. Hopefully that'll be enough to get him into Chaos Valhalla. The Ogres do a little victory dance and reform to face my chosen. Over to my turn, and the most important role of the game so far is going to be Harold Drownsodden's leadership test to see if he can march back into the circle and keep this game going. Leadership 8 on the Chosen, and he fails it. But can you blame him? He just listened to 6 Marauders getting slaughtered behind him. I like the idea of him looking over his shoulder and thinking, no thank you, I don't want any part of that. And so I just move him further away from all that carnage. It doesn't really matter. At the end of this round, the game is going to be over. My opponent is going to win. All that's left for me to do is spitefully pull down as many of his guys as I can. I do some measuring and I find out that I can't move my champion close enough to those Chaos Hounds to throw his throwing axe, so I can't kill off any of those. And of course, 1 wound won't pick off either his champion or the ogres. So all he's going to do is turn around and watch that final combat of the Pitmen versus the Marauders. That goes pretty well. The Pitmen pick up the pace a little bit and kill off 2 of those Marauders. Without their +2 strength on the first round of combat, they are unable to inflict any damage on the Pitmen. They lose by 2, fail their leadership test, and get run down. So it's another loss for the Louts of Chaos, but I really don't feel too bad about it. First off, I was the defender in the Defend the Stone scenario, so I was already up in a tough position. And I did kill off a lot of my opponent's forces, which makes me feel good. And being a Khorne warband and losing due to some scenario conditions as opposed to just being chased off the field, well, that's not too bad either. Granted, if it had gone on, I don't know what I would have done about those 2 ogres and the champion. So having the battle plan go something like, everybody hold, forget it, rush out, everyone kill him, and then losing because of that, that works. As far as favorite points go, the Hagsbrood are going to pick up 2 for playing the game and 2 for winning for a total of 4. I'm only going to pick up 2 for playing the game, but his warband rating is exactly 10 points higher than mine, so I get a bonus 5 favor points to this total. That brings me up to 7, which is a pretty good haul. It's also enough for Sir Osis to get 2 rolls on the advancement chart. He ends up with +1 attack and +1 strength, which is phenomenal, up to 3 attacks at strength 5. That killing blow rule that he has is a real deterrent for other people charging something valuable into him. But with only 2 attacks, it was real chancy that it would go off. With 3 attacks now, well, now the math has changed, and he has become a little bit more threatening, and with the +1 strength as well, he generally just gets a lot better. As far as casualties go, I roll for Dunschlitz first, my most expensive casualty, and he immediately rolls a 1. Well, I can't have that. Of course, I'm going to spend a favor point to re-roll that, and thankfully I roll like a 3, and so he rejoins the warband. I don't take any other casualties. Neither does my opponent. He may have had to spend some favor points to keep him alive. I don't remember what his advancements are. Again, he's just getting stronger. So despite the scenario having some real problems, I had a really fun game and I'm very happy with the result, failing upward as the Louts do. Leave a comment if you have any questions, observations, or concerns. The rest of the games in this round should come up relatively shortly, and I will see you on the next one.